Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatched Designs. Hope everybody's doing well today. I am here with a flip through of a journal that I just completed. It is another big journal, so it may take a little while. So I'll try and go as fast as I can. If not, you might want to speed it up a little bit. So it is a three signature journal, 180 pages. It is approximately 9 by 6 by 2 inches. It's a soft cover journal that I have made with a vintage quilt that I have, and I put a file folder in the middle, and then on the inside there is some linen material. So it is soft, but it still has a little bit of structure to it. Anyway, it feels great in your hands, even though it's a big journal. It is very, very filled, like almost all my journals are. Honestly, you could take out about 75% of what's in here, and it is not gator mouth at all. But I fill my journals, and that's why it is so. It's just full. Anyway, as I said, the outside is a quilt that I had that is this kind of beige quilt, and it has this embroidered roses on it, not all over it. I did put a vintage doily on it, on the spine, and that is what is holding the closure in. And it is actually sewed on with these buttons. You could take it off if you want to and just snip off the buttons. It's not glued, and it's kind of tacked right here. There is a pin holding this part down, and this is really pretty rose pin, and it kind of holds the tie in place. And then there's this beautiful tie here, which is basically just a double ribbon that's going all the way through the doily, and it is, like I said, it is attached on there, and there are trims all over the front. This is a antique trim here with this beautiful burgundy ribbon, and then there's some on the bottom like that. And this is just from a piece from a vintage doily that is all the way around the back, and that's just kind of dripping down. And then there is this side kind of pinkish burgundy trim on the side. On the front, I have this picture of this lady in this turban, and then a beautiful rose postcard, and then a vintage envelope in there. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up and we will take a look inside. So this part on the cover just comes out, and then here is the cover, so you can see how that looks with the pictures off of it. So it's pretty without those pictures on it. I wanted it to be, nice looking as a standalone, or with them in there. So that's how it would look. And then, as I said, this pin is just pinned on. You could take that off if you wanted to, but you could go ahead and just tie it like that, and it's pretty just like that, I think. These have a wax seal on them so that they are somewhat protected, and that's what's in front. And this is a very vintage early, let's see, what does it say? I think it's 1924 French letter, and the actual letter is on the inside. So, and I have no idea what it says, but anyway, it is in there. And then this is the envelope. So that is on the front with these pictures. Put that aside. So here is the journal, and the cool thing about this journal, even though it is absolutely stuffed, all of the pages, they lie completely flat, so you definitely can use it to write in very easily. And it's a great journal, I think, to maybe use for keepsakes and things like that, but it does have a ton of writing room in it, even though it's absolutely stuffed with things. Okay, so when you open it up, you've got this beautiful part of this. It was a tablecloth, and this is just a part of it that I cut off. And I put some of the trim that's on the outside up here, and it has this really pretty wedding lace trim with a little rose in the middle. Let me move it down a little bit. Okay, and then that has a little bit of eyelash trim, and then you've got another trim over here, and you can still see this other trim. So anyway, that is the front, and in here we have this little journaling booklet here that's been decorated, that has quite a few pages in it. And that goes up front, and then you have this journaling card with this antique lace trim on it, this picture of this lady in this beautiful pink dress. I've had her in the last few journals, and I just keep putting her in because I just think she's so pretty with that dress. I don't know, she just seems to fit in every pink journal that I have. There is this beautiful vintage, I believe this is early 1900s postcard, and this has like a texture on it, this vintage wallpaper tag with that on top, and that all fits up front. And then here is our first page, and here we have this beautiful trim with this page, and this is kind of a I would say a shabby but not grungy journal. So it's more on the shabby side, but I would definitely not call it grungy. Okay, so you've got this beautiful rose print here with this beautiful trim here, and I've got these bulb pens with these little dangles hanging all along. And then the next page, this is one of my bag pockets that I've made, and it has a side pocket with this picture in it, this vintage Victorian picture. And then over here we have this tag that's in the inside the pocket with this little dangly there. I used Journal Boat mainly in these pages, and then a lot of other different ones, and the Journal Boat is on Etsy. And then here's this beautiful rose on here with this collage on the bottom. This is my dyed paper. Then you have this picture here, and then this is my dyed green paper, coffee dyed paper. This is just a vintage receipt from, I believe, 1930 something. Yeah. So, and it's a French receipt. Here's an Edith Holden page. And on the other side of that page, I have it folded over to make a tuck spot. And then here is a vintage postcard, and then the rose journaling card. And here is just a page to write on, another one of the digital pages. And then here is a pocket that I made with some handmade paper that's been embossed, and then I did this little collage in the middle with a wallpaper tag and then another tag. This is a vintage ledger book here. Coffee dyed paper. This is a bag that's put in with a couple of journaling cards there. And here is a page that I made a little tuck spot out of. And here is a guest check that I decorated that you can certainly write on. On the ends, I haven't really been pointing it out, but it has all of this trim going down. Most of these are vintage or antique trims, and there's a lot of them. It goes all the way down, all the way to the end, and it kind of just waterfalls down. This is a very pretty vintage trim. And here is a copy of a French envelope, and it has this ballerina, and to me, I don't know, for some reason she seems French. I'll put that in there. And this doesn't really have a French theme, it's just kind of eclectic, but the theme is definitely you know, Victorian. This is one of our stencil pages made with the homemade stencil paste that I have, and this is an early 1920s music paper, and this is comes from a ledger book that I have, and it's early 1900s there too. And here this is an antique lace trim here pocket that I made, and this is really beautiful. But I backed it with some duck material to make it a little bit stiffer, but it's really beautiful material. And here is a wallpaper tag and then two other tags that I made. Put those in there. This is the middle of the first signature with this beautiful page on it, and some of the prints are my porch prints, I think, and then there may be a few others, like I said, in there, and I'll try and list them all and put them in the description box. This is just a little calling card for closure on this envelope, and this, as I said, this is the middle, and this just has just some journaling paper with a rose on it in the middle. Of course, you can put whatever you want in there. So that is the middle of the first signature. And then here's some wedding trim here that's been made into a little tuck spot, and there are a couple of little journaling cards there that just go right up in there. The other side of the music paper, the ledger. This is from a vintage cutout piece that I have, and I backed it with some vintage dictionary page to make it a little stiffer, and I just made it into a little pocket. And here's a little journaling card, and I backed all these with like coffee dyed paper and stuff. And then this is another little seed packet envelope, and I put a lot of these in there, and my main reason is just so people would have places to tuck things in and write little notes or do whatever. So that goes there. This is some very vintage, if not antique, trim here. The back of that page, this is avocado dye. The envelope, and there's that in there. This is another page I made a tuck spot out of, and this is a sample design, and I think that's a sample stamp, and I just decorated it a little bit and put it on this journaling card here. And I think that's tea dyed. And then this is the very vintage ledger paper. This is like this is 1930s also. And then here's a beautiful page with some chiffon ruffle there. I love this page here. And then here is another page that you could definitely journal on. This one is a vintage postcard that's been made into a pocket, and it has this picture here, this vintage picture, and then another envelope, and it does have a little journaling card in it also. So this is the other part of that Edith Holden page. And on the other side, this is a picture of New York, I believe in the 1920s. Anyway, I thought that, I love these. I mean, you probably can't really see it that well, but it's really has pretty good detail. It's just very interesting. It's interesting the road is all dirt, so can imagine how dusty and dirty things would get. The other half of that page, the other part of that other page, this is some vintage lace here, and inside here you have this vintage picture of these two ballerinas, and then another journaling card. And that's the other half. Here you've got this side with, you've got this trim peeking out, and this is some antique trim here. And you've got this picture here with this little journaling card. And it goes right in there. And then here is the second signature, and you've got this pretty eyelet trim here with a little dangly on there with the little red gemstone in there. And then you've got this other side here, and you've got, this is the music composition paper, and the other part of that paper. I love how this looks, how this is peeking through this vintage lace through here, and then you can see this on the other side. And then this is another sample design, and just a journaling card that I made. Has little flowers on there. I love how these turned out. Anyway, I'm gonna do a video on those soon. Inside this is just a bag that I put in. I left it so that you could journal on it. And the inside, it has this receipt that you could journal on, and I think this one is German. And here is Edith Holden, and on the other side of that is a tuck spot and a vintage postcard, and it's French, I believe. Here's another page with some ruffling on there. And on this side, I have a pocket that I made with the some handmade paper, some vintage wallpaper, vintage dictionary page there. I kind of just made a little pocket on this page, and you've got this journaling card, and then you have a library card, a vintage library card, and then here is a digital of a check. Another page to write on, coffee dyed paper, and then here's some vintage lace here, and that is on top of a little tuck spot, and that tuck spot is holding this really interesting picture, and it's a French picture. I don't know, it looks like a flying fish. I think that means April 1st, April Fools or something, but I thought it was interesting, so I put that in there. And then this is from a Sears and Roebuck, and I thought that was kind of cool. Ladies silk and velvet waist. These dresses are like $2.45. Interesting. Anyway, I'll put that in there. This is kind of brittle, So you kind of have to watch that a little bit, but I don't want to fold it because it is so brittle, but I did want to put it in there. I started to not put those in so much as pages when they're brittle like that, because when you're turning them, they can easily break. And here's that page. This has a really nice patina on it, but it's not, even though it's from the early 1900s, it doesn't seem to be brittle. I noticed that about all the ledger paper that I have. It seems to, maybe on ledger paper they wanted it to last, so they, you know, maybe it's like some sort of a cotton linen type material. It does feel like that. And this beautiful pink paper. Here I have some of the trim that I have on the outside of the journal, and this is antique trim here. It's very old, but it's really beautiful. Anyway, it has a nice patina to it too. It's on that tuck spot. And here's a card I made with the vintage wallpaper, and I just put this rose that's kind of popped up on there, and you can definitely write on the back of it. This is the handmade paper, and it's sitting on top of that handmade paper. So anyway, and here's that other part of that page, which I think is really pretty. Here's some trim. Got this beautiful page here. This is another, this is the vintage music paper, but this is another page with the texture paste, the color texture paste that we made on my channel. Here is another receipt, and I don't know, this is 1933. So that's that. And then here is the middle signature, and there is an envelope in there, and it has a little calling card again holding it. And I don't remember, oh, we have another journaling card in there. So anyway, I love these little middle signature envelopes here. This is a pocket envelope that I made, and it has this really pretty Victorian lady in this. This is a Tim Holtz die with this frame in it, and you have that sitting on top of some vintage paper, and then you've got some lace behind it on top of that bag, and then you've got this pretty picture of roses with the gauze. And here is a journaling card that is in there, and the journaling card has a pretty rose in it, and it's got this gold kind of filigree type leaves on the bottom, and then you've got this gold up here with this kind of netting pink behind it, and on the bottom you've got this little fringe. So I thought that's a pretty tag. Oh, and behind that, because you've got another pocket behind there, you've got this tag, and it's got, this is a Sampool stamp, some vintage, a piece of vintage lace, I think it was from a hanky, and then this is some part of vintage, oh, I can't think of what it's called now, but whatever. It's cute on there. So that goes in there. The music paper, this is a doily that I just put an actual pink doily underneath and some cardstock to make a little tuck spot. And here are some journaling cards that are in there, and they just tuck right under there. And it kind of peeks out on the side over here. And you have this on the other side, and again, beautiful pink paper, ledger paper. This is coffee dot, I believe. Here is another receipt, and that is from 1933 also, and it's in French, so I won't take that off. Here is a vintage postcard that's been made into a little pocket, and then you've got this journaling card here. And I think these are all chapter 1. That's the other digitals I used a lot of in here. And then there are some freebies from Artie Mays in here also. And then here is another one of the 1920s New York street pictures, which I just think these are so interesting. So interesting. And then here is another Edith Holden. It's this really pretty page. And it's tucked over on this side. You can still read the poem, The Lark. And then here is another picture from, I guess this isn't where the high-rises are, so I don't know what part of town. It says Houston Street, New York. Anyway, and then here's another little journaling card. And then here's part of that bag, and then I don't know what we have in here. Oh, another receipt from 1934. And it's a French receipt. And here's another part of that pink paper. Journaling. Another journaling. This is the music paper. As I said, there's a lot of journaling in this, even though it's very stuffed. This is a 1935 note from the Hotel de la Terrasse. And it's French. Again, some beautiful trim, and again, I haven't been doing a great job of pointing out this vintage trim here, and this is vintage here, and this goes all the way across the page over here, and still has a tuck spot, and here that is. This is a copy of a vintage postcard that I have. And there's that other, this is the third signature, and this is some very vintage trim here that's ruffled on here. Here is some music, oh my gosh, wedding, I'm thinking music in a wedding, I guess, trim. And then here is some journaling cards that were in there. They just get tucked right in there. Some of my pink paper. And here is a journaling card that goes in there. It has something to do with cologne. And then here is another page with this beautiful, beautiful lace on here, and another little bulb pin, or little bauble. I don't know if I showed you all of them, but. And then here is a journaling card with made from wallpaper, vintage wallpaper, and this little cherub is on there, and this is on some handmade paper also, and that gets tucked right there. This is a very antique part of a dress, so I believe this part was, I think it's on the collar. Anyway, here is a wallpaper tag, another little seed packet tag or envelope with a journaling card in there. And this is an electric copy, a digital copy of the meter card there. Goes in there. This is another Edith Holden page. And you've got this journaling card, and then this copy of the check in there. In this little tuck spot. And then on the other side, you've got this is the Edith Holden page with this receipt from 1924. And here is another bag that I left blank so you could write on it on both sides. And here is another receipt. I can't tell what it's from. It looks like some sort of a grocery list or something. But it's French, so I can't read it. Here is another digital page. Here, oh, I love this page. This beautiful pink page. I think these were like food coloring dyed with coffee dye. So here's some mulberry paper. This page was some, this is a vintage trim that I have that I made into a ruffle. This is another tuck or bag pocket, and it has this picture on it. It's a Victorian picture. And then you've got this tag that I made. And this is an alteration tag, I believe. And it has some vintage paper behind it. And then this is a vintage trim. Little pieces up here on a ball pen. The ledger paper, coffee dyed paper, and then this is the music paper that has the texture paste on it. Here is another receipt, and this is, I don't know, I can't tell, early 1900s. And then this is the middle of the last signature on this beautiful page here. And you've got this envelope with, again, another calling card there. And on this one, it has a receipt that you can definitely write on the back of that. On the next page, you have a vintage postcard that's been made into a pocket, and you've got a little envelope, little tiny envelope there, and it has a journaling card on the inside. You've got a vintage postcard there and another little journaling card. Put all those in there. The music paper, and then this has some really pretty trim here. It's kind of a gold trim sitting on top of this coffee dyed tuck spot that's been made. And we have another little booklet, and get that off, stuck on there, and it has this pretty rose with this leaf, gold leaf on there, and you know, just some pages in there. So I think that's interesting. Cool thing about these little booklet things, you could always carry them around with you if you wanted to. And I just put that in there so it wouldn't move around. And then you've got your ledger card. Here is some vintage lace trim here. You've got another of the pictures of downtown New York. And then you've got this receipt. I can't really tell a date on that. I believe early 1900s. Put that in there. And on this page, you have, oh, it got caught in there. Let me get that off. A sample design that I made into this tag. And this is also a sample stamp. And it's got this beautiful trim up here with this really nice little flower on top with these little blingies. So that just kind of gets paper clipped on top. The mulberry paper. Here's some more vintage lace. And then you've got 2 more journaling cards right there. So, and that beautiful paper. If you try and do your paper that way, you never can. So the back of that page. This is the other part of that paper bag. You definitely can write on that or put whatever you want on it yourself. And then here is another receipt from 1933, I believe. And then here is another Edith Holden page right there. And then here is a couple of journaling cards in there. And then here's the other half of that other side of the Edith Holden. And here's some pretty trim here. And another receipt here from, I can't really tell, 1933. And then this other page to write on. And then here is some handmade paper with this collage that I did right here with the rose on it. And then you've got this calling card, this other paper, this other tag that I made, and then a vintage postcard, and this beautiful trim here with the other side of that page. And then here's the last page where you have again this pretty bridal trim with the little pink rose in it and the other trim. You've got a wallpaper tag here, and then you've got another little seed packet. I don't know what it has in there. It's got a journaling card. And you've got a very vintage, I don't know if it has a date. It says 1911. I don't know, it's August 11th. Anyway, it's a 1-cent stamp, so it's early 1900s, probably. Postcard with the rose on it. And then lastly, you've got this journaling card that I made with this lady on it and the roses, and it's got some danglies on there. So anyway, that is it, guys. That is it. And it is, I believe this is spoken for, so I will have it listed in my Etsy shop, and it will say reserved, so do not purchase it. The way I do that is if someone sees something that I'm making, I will reserve it for them. In this case, what happened is this lady actually reserved another one of mine, and someone else purchased it, so she was very gracious and said that she would wait for me to make another journal. And so I purposely made this one for her. I don't do custom orders, generally speaking, because it just really stresses me out. Not that anyone has stressed me out at all. Everyone's been wonderful, but I get stressed out because I worry that you're going to like it. It's what you want, and you know, I'm going to get it done on time, all that kind of stuff. So I don't do that, but I kind of did for this person simply because I actually just made her another journal I think that she would like, but I don't normally make them for people. What happens is if you see one, you can contact me on my on my Etsy and say that you think you might want it, and you're not committed to it till after the flip through, because obviously you haven't seen it, and then after the flip through you purchase it. So I usually give people a day at least, or maybe two, to purchase the journal after the flip through, and then after that, if they decide they don't want it because they're not committed to it, if it's not what they want, it's not their cup of tea or whatever, then at that point I will go ahead and still leave it in my Etsy shop, but I will just rename it the name of the journal, because right now it's not going to have a name. It's just going to say reserved for, and once the reserved for is off of there, then that means you can purchase it. Okay, but if you purchase it before then, you're not going to get it because it's somebody else's journal. So I hope this was inspirational for you. It was definitely fun for me. And then this is, again, this actually, I've had this for a really, really long time, this quilt. And I just couldn't figure out, you know, what I was going to do with it. And this whole journal came together, I don't know, like it was meant to be or something. The pages, everything. And I think it turned out really pretty. I mean, the colors in it are all different types of burgundy and pinks and beiges and creams, and it's just, I don't know, I think it's just the right amount of pink and burgundy and vintage all together. I don't know, I like it, and I love this little rose pin. It's really pretty. And as I said, this thing really is like all my other journals. You know, you can take out 75% of the stuff in it and move it around. And I like that because I think that allows people to use the journal the way they want to use it. And a lot of stuff is not permanent, and they can kind of make it their own. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you very much. And make sure that you hit the bell so you know when I'm going to do another video, because I don't even know when I'm going to do another video. So thank you and take care.